or two. I'm not trying to see power or anything. I don't care if your hands are up. It's just focusing on the pads. So here we are in a class with a kicking pad and a kicker and a support person, and he does a kick or two or knee, whatever he wants, and we have this guy holding the bag. So a couple of good things here. One is that he's holding the bag appropriately. He has the hand through the loop, the other hand in a secure grip, and then the upper hand satisfactorily holding this. A lot of times people will hook with their thumb, underhook, and no, fingers please, something along these lines, even here obviously, or even here, fold, something like this. And then one of these days, the kick, punch, whatever is going to come through and essentially provide that kind of pressure. So he's holding with a fist grip, if you will, thumb underneath, please. Good. So that he has a nice secure grip, but also that the fingers are relatively safe, right? Secondly, he's not holding the bag here-ish, so that when the hit comes, the bag can provide an awful lot of rotation in space, right? Rotation about this axis, obviously the back and forth is going to come into it when somebody's kicking. But the problem with that is, one, it challenges you to receive it in the arms and the joints. But we're less worried about that because a lot of the force is gone. What we're interested in is that if he receives this when his ankle here, right? So when the foot stops because of the bag and the upper leg wants to continue and roll the ankle when it meets that uneven surface. So what you're interested in doing is providing an even surface that isn't going to overly roll. So instead it'll receive through compression. Okay. Next, what we want is for this person to start with their weight on the forward leg so that some of the energy reception can be brought about by him shifting weight, right? As opposed to pushing and leaning. Here's the guy who's really ready to receive, but he's not really ready to be in a good posture. So he's not particularly practicing a good posture or probably stance. So I'd prefer to have him practice a squat and find vertical alignment. He may not be perfectly vertical because he wants his hand to reach the side, right? Does that make sense so far? So he's set up to receive a kick. In terms of the mobility of the bag, in terms of the proximity to the bag, the proximity to his body of the bag, in terms of his alignment, in terms of his forward weight, right? What I'd like to have him do is be bladed to me with his body so that when I strike the bag, it's not offering to have his body rotate, it's offering to have his body shift. So I'd like to have him present more of a blade than a bit open. Does that make sense? For similar reasons to the rotation, right? But I want his head here because he should be able to be one of the people that reminds me to keep my hands up or for not to breathe, or you're a little too close, or remember it's a roundhouse kick. Like, he should be able to give me feedback and teaching and advice. But the big mistake that everybody makes in terms of holding a heavy bag, or what I'd call an air shield, or what do you call it? Blast shield, kick bag?
Kicking shield.
Kicking shield, okay. A big shield bag, the biggest mistake that everybody makes is that he is presenting the bag to receive a force from over here-ish. Like, it could be over here if it was a roundhouse kick or something, but he's expecting the force more or less to meet the bag roughly flatly. Knee is a little bit more rising, push kick is a little more pushing, axe kick is a little more downward, but force coming from here towards there. And perhaps a lot of force, right? We're in the black belt class. I'm all amped up and warmed up. I'm going to do a step behind side kick this time. There's a lot of force, right? So if you could just freeze where you are, release your grip and give me the bag. Freeze where you are. Freeze where you are. Good. So I just invite the viewer to look at his knee and remember a lot of force is coming from this direction at that guy who has his weight on the front leg. Would you like to point your right foot towards me before my flying side kick tries? Blade the body, shift to weight forward, keep your alignment, sink in your stance, hold the good grip, look at me, breathe. Does that feel better about receiving force from this direction? Nope, don't turn, face me. Does that feel better about receiving force in this direction? Does that feel better about giving force, so as a counter force to right? You're a smaller guy and a bigger kicker or something, like be able to, sometimes you drive into it a little bit. That's not it. No, I'm here. Point at me. Aha. Point at me, point your knee, your femur at me, turn your body the other way, right? So that first practice, that's the shape that I want in a bag. If we simply look at him holding the bag and sort of forget his breathing and posture and grip and awareness and weight and all the teaching skill, that I would not let somebody kick. He's pointing the bag here, but pointing the foot a little here. It was better than before, still not pointing at me. Aha, drive the weight forward. That allows this to receive some force. Not that I'm going to kick his knee, but just kind of showing people that force. So whatever I'm doing, this is set up for those forces to come from here. And you should be able to stay in it or give if you need to give. The other thing does not let it. Already you're starting to track it inward, right? Does that make sense? Questions? Okay, thank you.